Here we are. It's another day, another moon video. Oh my gosh, I'm a little nervous again. We've been gone for a little bit. There's been a lot going on. So I was thinking about making a separate video to update on what's been going on in life recently. Nothing crazy, just, it's been busy, holidays, whatnot. Really, we're just like working, but dealing with things involving that. So, but I think some of what has been going on in our personal life also reflects what's been going on in the energy and relating to this full moon in Cancer, talking about like family dynamics and stuff like that. So I was thinking, depending on how long this video gets and what we talk about, we might touch on some of that. I don't know that it's really that much to make a whole other video, but we'll see. We might get into it later. But let's do this now. So at the time of filming this, it's been like 12 hours since we reached 100% illumination. So the moon's already started to wane. I was working on this yesterday and just not really like feeling it. There was other stuff going on. And so I was like, whatever, we're going to put it off till today here. It'll be technically like late, but I'm just like, it doesn't really matter. We're still in that window of the full moon energy. It doesn't really matter, but we made sure to get it. Can't miss it. All right. Yes. So full moon in Cancer. We're gonna start reading off our notes here, and then we'll do as we do. Go over some personal application. Okay. Yes, Happy New Year, by the way. Let's just go. Cancer is a cardinal water sign ruled by the moon, occupying the 4th house, representing our internal and external emotional environment, home, foundation, ritual, routines of our living spaces, family patterns, parent to child dynamics, ancestry roots, traditions, etc. We're currently in a Capricorn stellium with the Sun, Venus, and Mars sitting around the same degrees, whilst Mercury recently entered, joining the others in this placement. Yeah, we're, well on our way into Capricorn season right now, and that's the other thing, right? Like our Capricorn devil video that we've been contemplating this a lot, right? And like putting together different pieces. The way that we have felt the sun in Capricorn for us personally is like a more intense drive and like focus and determination, which has really helped. It's been nice coming out of the Sagittarius energy. And I was a little concerned, because some of like the more shadow aspects of Capricorn can be like the devil energy, right? Like of like obsession and possessiveness and like toxicity and like all this stuff. So I was a little like quiet as a mouse for a little bit, because I was like, I want to see how this energy kind of, how it shows up, not only in our internal world, but also around us and like people and like how we're experiencing things. So I'm happy with how it's been going so far, but I was a little bit just like, oh, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. So, but so far so good. It's been more of like the light side of things, and just being able to like hunker down and like hone in on stuff more, and focus more on like the self-mastery of that energy than being like overtaken by it, So yeah, but that's the Capricorn stellium, it's like what, Sun, Venus, and Mars, and then Mercury. Yeah, it's lending to, it's been a positive experience so far, at least for me. I hope it is for other people too, but yeah. Okay, other than the moon's brief stay, we also have Jupiter retrograding in Cancer until March, and the above mentioned planets all opposing Jupiter retrograde this upcoming weekend. That'll be in a week from now. That'll be an interesting little time too, to see how that kind of plays itself out. Yeah, and the whole thing with the new year too. We tend to look at and observe multiple New Year's throughout the year, right? Not just the Gregorian, like Roman one, because as we know, like many different places in the world, different cultures celebrate New Year's at different times, and So while this is the one that we were kind of like brought up on here in America, we have observed other ones as well. Like we kind of personally look at the new year as being in the spring, as the start of like the astrological cycle, along with like the lunar new year. This is also around the time, you know, when Saturn's going to be switching over and like Jupiter here stationing direct again, and just, you know, all kinds of fun astrological stuff going on at that time. So for us personally, we kind of align more with that. And then there's a few other points in the year too, like in the summertime, you know, midsummer, summer solstice is also considered like the new year in other cultures. And so it's just like looking at a little bit of all of those. So yes, so that's that. The intense focus or concentration of this stellium and full moon energy can assist us with looking at these particular areas, the karma or karmic lessons associated with them, and how they're at play in both our personal lives as well as the collective conscious. Yes, yes. Karma associated with the fourth house would have us look at our family, generational trauma, behavioral patterns, legacy, emotion, attachment, regulation, wholeness, and home, safety, security, comfort, nourishment. Okay. This one, I'm like, this, oh gosh. As I was writing this and finishing it up here before making the video, it's a little touchy, you know, the fourth house having to do with family and emotions. I mean, just like our own experience, like, because we have personally gone through so much in our own lives, and it has played a big role during our Saturn return, and like reflecting on a lot of that as we were doing a lot of shadow work and like trying to integrate our own self into wholeness, and just how we have interacted with the world around us. It's kind of crazy. So there was a lot of that coming up as well as we were preparing to do this. And even as I'm reading it now, I'm just like, it's almost like I feel it just like rising up, like, oh my God, there's like so much, but we're gonna see how into that we go. I don't know. Could be interesting. But I wanna talk and focus more on some of like the work ones, like stuff that's been going on there in our personal life recently that ties into this. Okay. So light attributes of Cancer. We have empathetic, emotionally intelligent, protective, intuitive, loyal, committed, nurturing, sensitive, resilient, affectionate, devoted, supportive, generous, compassionate, sensual. And then shadow aspects would be moody, clingy, needy, prickly, standoffish, impenetrable, overbearing, passive aggressive, resistant, manipulative, begrudging, hypersensitive, possessive, secretive. Okay. And then we will get, well, I'm like, do we want to say anything on that? I don't know. Not really. Again, I wasn't really wanting to like talk today. I think I've managed to avoid people today so far, which has been nice. Yeah. We didn't get away with that yesterday, even though it was a day off. We still, you know, had some stuff we had to do. And yeah, so today has been like, we've gotten away with being alone, which is nice. Especially this late in the day, but we still have like, you know, I'll probably see my housemate later, walk the dog if they're around. I don't know, we have to see. But yeah, it's been nice to just have like quiet and peace and time to myself. And I'm like, I don't want that to end. I don't necessarily want to like talk. Just like, let me be quiet. Let me just exist. So yes, we've been doing a bit more of that and it's been nice. Okay. Yeah. But the aspects, let me see here. I mean, as I was writing the light and shadow aspects again, like I can think of certain examples. And again, if we go over like the shadow ones, I'm like, sure. I mean, again, I can think of times in my life when I have been criticized and I have been told like certain things about myself. And some of these, yeah, I'm like, sure, should stand out. Some of them not so much. Like, let's see, like clingy, passive aggressive. I don't necessarily relate to those as much because again, and we'll talk about this later on as we go into like emotional attachment and stuff. I've been more on the avoidant spectrum, so I've never really been a very clingy person. I might have been if my upbringing was different, if I was, you know, allowed to express myself more when I was a kid, and two, attached differently, but I wasn't. And so I've never really been that kind of person. I've been more like keeping people at a distance, at an arm's length, keeping them out, unless they are like very close to me, where we've developed a relationship over time. But for the most part, we tend to keep people at an arm's, and that's not only protective of ourselves, but the people we love too, who are a part of our inner circle, because once people become a part of us, it's like, okay, so the other thing I thought about writing, which I didn't find anywhere online of anyone saying this, but I was like, one of the shadow attributes we could add is like murderous, which is a little crazy, a little extreme. But I was thinking of this one dude who makes astro videos, and they're like comedic, making fun of the different signs. And what is his name? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but every time he portrays Cancerians, there's almost always a knife involved, and I find it so funny, because even like when I look back on like things I've made in the past, and even some of my own interests, I mean, I would love to have like a little switchblade and learn some knife tricks. Like, we got a little bit of that in us, so, but I think it's more on the line of like, not that we would necessarily like plan a murder, because like murder versus killing still take a turn. But yeah, like we're just like, we're not necessarily like fearful of things like that, like I would cut a bitch if it came down to it. But that's just, our very protective nature. Like we have no fear or qualms of things like that. So not that we're like crazy and gonna go cut someone, but at the same time, like I would if it came down to it. So anyways, just, that's that. Let's see. Let's go into the reflection. So these are based off the karmas again: family, emotion, and home. Let me just delete this real quick. Okay. Family. What emotional or behavioral patterns, positive and or negative, have I learned or adopted from my parent or caregiver? With an S, because if there's more than one, I don't know. Am I able to identify their origin or learn more about where these patterns began to develop? Is there anything about these patterns in my own life that I would like to further develop or alter in any way? If so, where would I begin to process these emotions and take small steps towards making the necessary changes to improve upon any particular pattern? Some of these are a little long, a little wordy, but again, that's the Virgo in us of just like, I gotta get it right. I gotta say what I need to say, even if it's long, even if it's drawn out. We try to keep it concise, though. I'm like, we're gonna limit ourselves to 4 questions, even if the questions are, split up into 2 parts. Are there any family dynamics, behaviors, or relationships that I need stronger boundaries with? What boundaries might I need to set for myself with any particular family members to protect and preserve any other relationships? Okay, yeah, so we started with this one on purpose. I was thinking about how we wanted to order these again, right? And because like before our home is developed, and even like our emotional world, right? Like we have our family that we're born out of, and so that those relationships really do make up so much of the foundation of like who we become in a lot of ways. Even though we have free will, like we are still affected by these things to various degrees. So yeah, and again, as I was, this is, examples of what we have done over the years for like our own shadow work, or just like contemplating, like getting to know ourselves better, and in creating more of like who we want to be and how we want our life to look. But also, as I was writing these, I was like, this is where it can be a bit touchy, not only for us personally, but anyone else that would potentially come across this, right? Because as we know very well, even people who have had, healthier family life in their youth, there's still always karma, attached to and associated with these things. So even for people who have like the most picture perfect families, I mean, me and my housemate were talking about this past week as well. how, like with Christmas cards and around the holiday time, how people, you know, always saw her and like their marriage and their family as picture perfect, right? Like they send these cards, postcards, pictures, whatever. And for people that don't really know what goes on behind closed doors, they just see the mask, they see the image that's portrayed. And it's not to say that there isn't an abundance of love and growth and affection and all these things, but at the same time, you know, if there is always karma happening, so there is going to be things that we're learning, regardless of how healthy we deem any particular relationship in our life. So yeah, we have that light too. What am I doing? It's a little bit different, right? Because one of the things, with this little side note, one of the things we've been doing prior to the new year then was we were, after our back, oh my God, it was, okay, let's rewind a little bit. Fireplace just went off. Rewind a little bit. Yeah, so like our back was really killing us for like a week, our lower back. We were taking ibuprofen. We went off of it. And that whole next week, we were still in a lot of pain without it. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because usually when we have a little flare up in our back, it'll go away in like a few days, maybe a week tops. But for it being like 2 weeks long and using meds, I was a little like, why? Like, what's going on? What's happening here? And then it was like the pain had like moved up into my upper back and then like my shoulders, my neck, into the top of my head even. And then I was like starting to like break out and like we were just going through a lot, like full body. I was like, what the hell is happening, bitch? Yeah, so we were looking into like fascia massage and release a bit more and doing some of that to help, but I just was like, this is a little strange, right? And there are multiple factors. Part of that is like how our work has changed recently and how like we're not necessarily on our feet as much as we used to because we're not allowed to do the same things that we used to, caring for my person before. So we're spending a lot more time on our bottoms, on our butt. And so I think part of that is just like my body like craving that movement and not getting it as much. And so it's putting a little bit of strain on our back, sitting in a chair for so long, even though we like take time to like get up and move around and do different things. There's only, you know, I can't do that all day. I still have to like sit my ass down for a fair bit of time. So that's part of it. Maybe the cold weather has something to do with it a little bit too. Stretching, because we're hypermobile, sometimes stretching does not help us. It has the opposite effect. And so we just kind of have to be careful with that. But I don't know. It is what it is. And then like emotional release tied to these things. So I know like the lower back, for example, can be associated with like grief and anger. And not that we've been experiencing anger so much, but a little bit of grief still, yeah. And not even a little bit of our own, but also I think of like the people around me during the holiday season and different conversations that have been coming up and different dynamics with the people I work with in their own families and like being a part of that and like what's been going on at this time of year and their own grief. And we've talked about some of that. And so that also was something we were looking at, right? Because as humans, we can be like sponges in so many ways where we kind of soak up and absorb emotion around us, you know? And sometimes that can present itself as pain in our body. And that's something that I was not necessarily aware of for a long time. But once we did become aware of it, we were able to start like actively doing something about it. But again, this time around, that's not necessarily the first place that my mind goes to when I have pain. I usually look at myself first, like, oh, what am I doing that's different or that could possibly be causing this? And then, you know, after a little bit of time and like other stuff's going on, I'm like, okay, maybe there is a little bit more going on here than just that. So yeah, we were looking at a bit of that then. Like, am I absorbing possibly like the emotions of or like the pain of the people around me on any level, you know? Because to have like consistent pain and like pain moving up and through my body for a few weeks long, day in and day out, to the point where it was like making it hard for me to do daily activities and quite distracting. I was really like, I needed to like pull back for a bit and like sit with myself and what was going on and kind of contemplate and feel it, but also try to understand like what I was experiencing. So that's been a bit of what's been going on there. Yeah. And as we're about to talk in the next section of like the karma related questions, you know, we're going to go into emotion here. So yeah, let's just do that. Let's go there next. What does emotional wellness or wholeness look like for me personally? In what ways have I felt broken, fragmented, or less than whole within myself? What is my current emotional attachment style? Like secure versus insecure, codependent, avoidant, or disorganized? Am I able to identify where my attachment style originated and or has changed over time? What does secure attachment and relationship look like for me personally? What do I need in order to feel safe and secure within myself as well as within my relationships with others? What tools and resources are available to assist in further learning, practicing, and developing a stronger relationship with my emotional self, body? What are the potential challenges I have faced or will face in practicing emotional regulation and developing a more secure attachment? Okay. I feel so weird, bitch. Oh my God. Even as I'm like talking, I'm like, I feel like I sound strange. I feel like I sound weird. I don't know what to say, bitch. I'm like trying not to blend like too much of like what's been going on personally into this, but it plays a role. Like this is the energy. This is how it's expressing itself, and we are feeling it everywhere. Love that for us. Oh, okay. I think too, right? When we talk about experiencing pain in our body and how our pain correlates to our emotion, it's like the more we resist certain things, right? Even if it's something that would be considered like good or a positive feeling or experience or something that is healing, a lot of times, you know, our body will kind of instinctually react to even something that would be considered like good, right? Or healthy or healing, if we're not used to that, right? And so if we're used to experiencing a lot of pain, and a lot of the more like negative emotions, if we're used to living in a state of survival, even if we've taken our mind out of that place and we're able to think differently about ourselves and the world around us, our body usually takes some time to catch up to that. And again, during our Saturn return, this is something that we were looking at, and we were really working on our mind during that time while working on our body. But it's like just being like active and like practicing different forms of movement and like our body changing the way that it feels and looks even doesn't necessarily mean that we are releasing stored pain. And I think a part of that too is because if we're doing so much alone, and we're not necessarily like able to share that pain in any way or share what we're feeling, to experience certain things alone can sometimes limit or like stagnate the like our ability or like how far, how deeply we're able to heal certain things, versus like being able to heal something with another person or with other people around us, right? And not just talking about it, right? But like being able to process in other ways as well, to feel things together. And that's something that not everyone is always able to do around us for a variety of reasons. Like so many people have their own pain and their own undiscovered parts of themselves, right? And so, and as we play a supportive role or character to so many people around us all the time, and we are helping them to process, it just, I'm like, what do I say, bitch? We're in an interesting period of time right now. It's weird too, right? Because again, there's only so much I will say here, but we're very aware of what's happening to us, but not everything can be talked about, and that's okay. But my hair looks a little funny. It's freshly washed. I just washed it this morning when we got on. Yeah. So I look a little crazy, but that's okay. Yeah, we're going through like our own kind of deeper level of like emotional release and healing right now. And I think part of that is showing up in our physical body, which is fun. Not really, it's painful, but it, necessary. And I think that it would show, I need a drink, bitch, hang on. Give me a second. This is, we don't have our tea. I don't know if I can I need that. We got a sparkling water, new flavor. This is, how do you, I don't know. Blackberry snowflake is what it's called. What the hell does a snowflake taste like? Your guess is best as how's that saying go? Your guess, I don't know, bitch. A snowflake. It really just tastes like blackberry, but like, what does a snowflake taste? I don't know. It's a little icy. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I think that, a part of what's going on, what we're experiencing is just like, this video is 27 minutes long. I'm like, we may get distracted. It is a reflection of some of our, I don't know how much I want to say, bitch. We are less resistant to certain things than we used to be. And I recognized this too recently with the pain. I was like, because especially when it's like lingering and it won't go away, and I'm like distracting myself doing, a million other things. I'm like, again, this plays into some like of our own attachment, where I just am like, avoid. I'm like, do this, go do that, keep myself busy. But when there's this ever-present pain in our body, and especially like the more that it's increased and like been all over the place, it's made it so that, we've kind of had to look at it. Otherwise, it was like the pain was just growing. It was just getting like harder and harder to feel on a daily basis. So, we've certainly softened up a bit. And we are, a little less resistant to feeling some of that. And, I would say we're experiencing a little bit of deeper healing in some ways. Yeah, for as much as I can say on the internet here. But, yeah, I think for these two sections, how this plays a role, right? Because we're talking about like the karma related to our family and how having more dysfunctional family dynamics and how they affect our like emotional development, and how we relate to ourselves. Then I understand how difficult it can be to adjust, to release certain old patterns. Again, in the mind, right? Like that in itself is hard enough to change the way we think about things sometimes, right? But then that's only like one step into it, because like we can start to see the world differently and think differently. But again, our body catching up is like a whole other beast. Depending on how much we've held and stored in our body over the years. It can be kind of intense. So we're kind of going through a bit of that right now. And I think for a while I wanted to believe that maybe we were done with that and maybe there wasn't more. Maybe we could just be fine as we were. But I think the pain is pointing us to the fact that it's not, the fact that there is more, which is what it is, right? We just kind of have to accept it and go with it. But it's painful. That is what it is. Okay. Yeah. Let's go into the last section here. Home. What kind of home environment did I grow up in? How did it feel to live there? Did my home provide safety, security, comfort, and or nourishment to me and the other inhabitants? I'm thinking, I thought that oh my God, this point is split into 3 questions. But I thought it important to include this last one because I was thinking again from my own experience and how even though I am an only child that I know of, I did grow up around other people in the home. And I would say, you know, we were not all treated equally. And this is common too. In families. Again, I was talking with my housemate about this recently, like of her and her relationship with her siblings and like, you know, the differences between them and how like she relates to it. But for me personally, I think having watched or experienced like the gap in the treatment, how severe it could be, because it changed over time for us personally. The 9 years that I lived in my childhood home, well, I'm like, so originally, I'm like, I actually don't know how much I want to talk about this. Let me see here. So we moved around quite a bit when I was very young. When my mom still had me, like had custody of me. We were moving around a bit still because she was technically like a single mother. My father, who lived up in Minnesota, was ill. He had something called Huntington's disease. And so he passed away around the time I was like 18, I think the summer I graduated high school. So I never really got to know him, but I wouldn't say, like, even though the relationship was like non-existent, that wasn't because of him. That actually had more to do with my grandmother. And again, I'm like, I don't know how deep we need to get into this, but she had refused once she had gotten custody of me when I was 5 years old, and then I lived with her for the next 9 years. She refused to have other family in my life. So she's kind of like, I guess I don't know if like alienation is the right word, but my mom, my dad's side of the family, they tried to have a relationship with me, but my grandmother wouldn't allow it. Very controlling. So yeah, there was a lot that went into all of that, but you know, I still was aware at a young age that like both my mother and my father loved me very deeply. I do think still to this day that they were wonderful people. So it wasn't anything like that with them, but in the home I lived in for those 9 years then with my grandmother and the other people we lived with there then, again, it didn't start horrible because I was a kindergartner then. So, I mean, there still was always abuse present, but it just like, it was different, I guess you could say. And it kind of, it changed over time. I'm like, why? I'm getting like all congested now. not even like emotionally, like we want to cry. We just feel like it's like all up in my head, like suddenly, like I can't breathe. Love that. That happens sometimes when I'm running a candle because of the smoke in the air, but I have no candles going right now. So I'm like, I don't know why I'm getting congested. It happens. This happened in the other video. Yeah. So for us personally, right, we saw the abuse in our home shift and change over time. In some ways it got worse. And again, I'm like, I don't know how many details we want to give here. Like, I don't want to scare anybody. Yeah, that really is like our focus when I'm talking about these things, and as we do in the future, I want to be able to be open and share like our genuine experience with people, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want to trigger, certain things in other people who may come across this one day. Yeah, I don't know that this is necessarily the place to go into too many details, but maybe we just carry on. It's just, things changed over time, got a bit worse until finally, we were able to get out of there. But I think the other thing too, then, as we go through these questions, let's see, how does my current home environment compare to the homes in my early childhood, place I lived prior to now? Yeah, I was thinking, because I talked a little bit before in some of my videos about how like I was technically homeless, for a while because I lived out of my car. I still had a roof over my head. I still was providing for myself, working, paying bills, doing all that stuff. So it was a different kind of homeless experience. But, we went through our own process of that and like trying to get ourselves up and out of that and getting the support. And let's see here. In what ways am I able to cultivate internally and externally the kind of home I would like to live in? What kind of feelings and emotions do I want to nurture in this home? Does this idea or feeling of home bring me joy, peace, expansion, etc.? And what tools and resources are available to assist in envisioning, creating, and cultivating my ideal home environment? What practical steps, however small, am I able to take towards this goal? Yeah, this made me think of a lot when I was writing this, right? For me personally, like over the years, and again, my freaking Virgo placements, I've always been someone who like makes lists and like organizes things, whether it's like in my phone, different apps I use, whatever. So even when we were technically homeless, or when we were in the transitional living place before we came to where we are now, I have my own process of things, right? So like I have different notes, where I would write like certain goals that I would have for myself and the different steps, or even just lists of like things that I liked or like I wanted to look into, that I wanted to research, learn more about, things that I admired and looked up to. I don't know, just anything and everything, I use Pinterest for this too over the years. Like it's privated in my Pinterest, but I have one specifically for home too, that I've been working on for years. And it has everything from like, inside, outside the house, like to like the garden, to like specific like rugs and like decor, like all that stuff, right? Even on YouTube, I have a playlist for like home too, of different things like renovations and like DIYs and stuff. So it's little ways that we have connected ourselves to what we want and desire, and what we're looking to build, right? And how it starts within ourselves, and in terms of like manifestation and things like that. Yeah, and I think doing some of those things has helped us in getting to where we are now in our current place, and living in a place successfully that feels safe to us and feels peaceful, and that we can really just kind of relax in while we experience the rest of all the craziness that's going on in life. So yeah, that's that. But I feel like heaviness to this, right? There is a bit. I've been trying to watch what I say be careful what we say, how much here. But there are certain things in the future, certain videos that we will make talking about some topics, I think, more in depth. But again, for just a little full moon video here, I'm like, we don't want to go too crazy. I'm not trying to freak anyone out, but but these can be very heavy things. Yeah. And that's something I've been thinking about too, you know, like lightness, you know, like feeling lighter within ourselves when we carry a lot of heavy emotions, a lot of deep seated grief and anger, going back to the back, right? And any other sort of like repressed or unexpressed emotions within ourselves, other than feeling pain, right? Like it is going to create a kind of heavier feeling within our body, and that can manifest in different ways itself, right? But there is this desire towards freedom, which, you know, we tend to equate with a kind of like lightness, like feeling lighter within ourselves, being able to move and flow freely in just like our day-to-day life and our actions and the way that we live and do things. That doesn't feel as anchoring and like tying us down to even so simply as like feeling a way that we don't want to. So we've been contemplating that a bit. We're already 40 minutes and I'm like, this is a lot longer than I was thinking it was going to be. Let's go into some of our personal placements here because we didn't do that yet. So for us, let's see, Cancer typically rules the 4th house. Yes. Parents, caregivers, foundations, home. So in our 4th house, where Cancer usually lies, is our Virgo. And we have our Mars in Virgo at 1 degree and our moon in Virgo at 13 degrees, as well as our IC, Imum Coeli, however the fuck you say that, and then 11 asteroids. So a lot of Virgo going on there. Yeah, and I think we have our lunar return coming up the beginning of this week too, which is another thing we observe, you know, every month when the moon returns to your natal sign. There are different like practices, rituals that you can partake in to nurture ourselves emotionally, but also like our home space, right? For me personally, I look at that as kind of like a home and emotional reset every month for myself. And yeah, that's that. And then our Mars, that's good to look at for various different things, like the way that we handle conflict. It can also tell us a bit about like our sexuality and relationships again and different things like that. That's fun. And then, yeah, our moon in Virgo at 13 degrees, and this being in our 4th house in Cancer, reminded me of another study that we were looking at this past week on the fixed star Sirius, which tends to sit around 13 degrees in Cancer. And yeah, we added that to our time nomad, and we were just doing a little bit more research on that. This full moon is considered the wolf moon, I think, and Sirius, the star, is associated with the, what is it, Canis Major star constellation, symbolized by the wolf, and its association with a lot of different things. Yeah, so I just thought that was an interesting little parallel or correlation to, because we were led to that and reading about it just kind of like naturally, like before I even started this write-up on the full moon. So it just kind of lined up with that perfectly. And then I was reminded of it again when I was looking over some of our placements. Yeah. And then for us, Cancer typically sits in our 2nd house, which is ruled by Taurus. And that has our sun in Cancer at 3 degrees, our Mercury in Cancer at 26 degrees, and then 6 asteroids. So not quite as much as some of the other ones, as we've talked about before, that I have like a ton of that influence. So two major planets in Cancer, but then a lot more elsewhere. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this reminds me too, because I was reading the little description here about from Chani. I love Chani Nicholas. I used her app on my phone, and I still do, with a few others, for learning astrology over the years. And then about 3 years ago, it was late, no, not 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It was late 2023 when I ordered my first one of these, one of our little astro planners. So we got one for the 2024 year, last year 2025, and now we have our third one for 2026. Yeah, and I had that in the box along with one of the, I think it's one of the new things. They make little, let me see here, little washi tapes. So I think these are new, which I think are so cute, little craft supplies that I added onto my order with my planner. So yeah, this will be our third year using the astro planner. And I love having this with me just like on the go and as like a reference, you know, day to day when I want to look at things. We don't necessarily journal it every single day. We're not that committed to that. But I do enjoy it, you know, when time allows and we feel like it and we're not doing, you know, a million other things. But we mainly use it as like a reference tool, and it's fun to like doodle in and stuff. Yeah. And I really love Chani and like what her and her partner stand for in their business. Yeah, so I love supporting them. And that's that. Let's see what else. Let's talk about some of the examples of like what's been going on at work. I think, can I close this? Do I need my, yeah, we're gonna, ow, oh my God, I don't even want to say what I just did. I shut the laptop and it literally like clipped my nipple. That was silly. Okay, well, that's what you get for not wearing a bra, but I'm chilling. It's cozy time. But ow. Anyways, I need a drink, but this is silly. And this video is getting so long. For a moon video, this is a little ridiculous. But it's just, that's the energy. That's what's going on, okay? Let's just chat now. Yeah, so we usually work every holiday, if you have holidays. Oh my God. And not much going on here. Because again, let's talk, you know, Cancer full moon themes. I don't have family here where I live because I moved here by myself. And I have like some friends who over the years have invited me to do different stuff with them, or I've done stuff like with the church in the past. But usually I kind of have always felt a little bit out of place. Even though I will say, like, I have felt very loved and welcomed in some ways, you know, by the people around me. I still have always felt kind of like, you know, the oddball, like, yeah. And part of it's just like how I am too, like being on the spectrum, like I can be kind of awkward and weird, and I don't mean to be, it's just, you know, and like the whole masking thing, like I can be like super friendly and like it just comes off weird sometimes, like unnatural. I don't know, bitch. So we've always kind of like worked through the holidays, and we've enjoyed that, right? Because again, I tend to be quite invested in the people I work with and in their families as well. And so it serves as like a distraction too for us, so that we don't necessarily have to think so much about, you know, being alone. But for real. And so yeah, we were like working through the holidays here again, through Christmas and New Year's, working. And we did get a few Christmas cards, which was sweet. I grabbed some like old ones that were hanging out at the office for me and opened them all. There was one that was left in my guy's room that I didn't open for a while, and I saw that it was actually from the one lady who I talked about a few videos ago. I think it was the one when I was at the creek and I talked about how we had that little conflict on Thanksgiving. And I haven't seen her since then, but she stopped by my guy's room to leave me a Christmas card, which I thought was sweet. And she apologized in the card again, which, you know, I was like, oh, yeah, sweet. But I still haven't seen her. So I'm like, okay, well, but again, sweet. And then, what else? Yeah, had another conflict on Christmas Eve, which, let me see here. Again, it's like they tend to always follow like a very similar pattern, although this one was a little more up in my face, like getting their finger in my face, like that whole thing, you know. But I just was like, again, it's very similar to how it usually plays out. And again, this person ended up like texting me after the fact recently. I think it was just earlier this week even. Yeah, they texted me and apologized. And I didn't even respond to that one because I just was like, I don't have the bandwidth for it right now. You know, like we were in a lot of pain and trying to get through like working through all this and then dealing with like the other stuff going on around me in the work environment, other chaos, you know, because it's like healthcare. There's a lot of people in the environment running around doing different things. We're interacting with them. We're talking with them. They have their own stuff going. It was just a lot, like a lot of different energies, a lot of chaos. And yeah, and then talking with some of the family and people of the person I work with and their own family dynamics, right, that plays into this and some of the conflict that was going on, their own grief. So yeah, we've just been working, dealing with all that, doing that. And then stuff at home with like the housemate, similar themes that we've been talking about. And then our own, yeah. But, yeah, the holidays have never really been too fun for us. Not since I was like a really little kid, and even then, I don't know, it's kind of questionable. But, yeah, it's a time that we tend to just keep ourselves busy and like work and distracted. And so I'm not surprised that like a lot of pain was coming up during this time, but at the same time, I'm like, must we do this? Must I? Can I opt out? No, we need to. I know. Yeah. And a lot of this too is in preparation for what is coming this year. And for us, you know, it's more symbolic of like the springtime, right? And yeah, I was thinking about it earlier today and recently as well too. So next month, mid-February, a little over a month from now, is when Saturn finally goes direct after retrograding in Pisces, you know, for the past several months after its brief stay in Aries, you know, which was giving us a little preview of what's about to be for the next couple years here for all of those with their Saturn in Aries. I'm going to be going through their Saturn return at this time. Lucky you. So yeah, but I'm really excited. At the same time, the energy does feel a little like dense and heavy. Not as much as it did before. I think we've worked through a lot so that it doesn't necessarily have to feel like that. And we've been paying attention to some of the like public deaths that have been being reported at this time too. And how it ties into like some of the Saturn energy as well as like, you know, the conjunctions with like Mars and oppositions and stuff like that. So there's just a lot going on with that. Yeah, so, but we're getting in those late degrees of Saturn again at Pisces. And it's like kind of like a, you know, a balloon expanding and getting ready to pop. Because it's not only wrapping up, you know, for us personally, but again, the entire Saturnian cycle. And, yep, Jupiter plays a big role in this. Jupiter in Cancer. And, this new year, and just we've done a lot, bitch. We have done what some would say the impossible. I'm really excited. Yeah, I think after the new year too, this one, right, we did feel some release of energy where it's like some of the heaviness left us because of I think just so many people that follow the Gregorian calendar, right? And so there can be like a lot of like pressure around this time, like leading up to it. And I don't know why, other than like culture pushing that on people, you know, to like move fast and get this done and buy all this stuff, capitalism, and like you have to live your life at this crazy pace, and it's a lot for us personally, and we tend to practice a slower kind of living, slower lifestyle, and that is countercultural in itself. So but the way that we feel the energy can come off very like intense, dense, crazy, chaotic. So some of that has released, which is good, feeling a bit lighter from that, and then also processing of like our own stuff. So that's that. Again, this is just off the cuff. We didn't really have like, I don't know. I'm like, is there anything else? This video is about to be an hour long. That's crazy, bitch. Yeah, full moon in Cancer, family, home, emotional themes. Can be heavy. Doesn't have to be though. Yeah. I don't know. That's it. I want to go and do what? I don't even know. Maybe we'll get back to the Capricorn thing. Keep working towards that. Yeah. Right in time. Yep, we're going to have that out, I think, later towards the end of Capricorn season, maybe. Because again, it's kind of lining up for us with like the end of our Saturn return, and the new cycle, the new year, overcoming the devil, defeating the devil, if you will. Yeah. And Saturn's association, with it. So just doing following what we felt we were supposed to do. I'm like so I gotta go. I love you. Okay. Bye.